Shocking. A little girl tried to rob a stranger. Could this be the twist of a lifetime? The young man was caught off guard when someone suddenly snatched his wallet. Fortunately, he saw the kid who took it and managed to catch up. You're stealing at your age? Don't you know that's wrong? Where are your parents? He scolded harshly. The child couldn't hold back tears and wailed. Please don't tell my mom. She's sick. I'm afraid something bad might happen to her. I promise I won't do it again. I'm really sorry. The man, whose name was Ryan, was taken aback by the child's resemblance to him. A strange feeling stirred within him. A sense of familiarity he couldn't ignore. I need to see your mom so she knows what you did, Ryan said firmly, more curious now than angry. How would things turn out once Ryan met the boy's mother? Would he be surprised? But how did all of this even begin? Doctor, how much would it cost if I started treatment today? Asked Brooke, worry written all over her face. Well, the doctor sighed. I won't sugarcoat it. Treatment will cost several thousands. It's not cheap. Brooke felt her knees weaken. She never imagined she'd get sick, let alone need such expensive medication. Since falling ill, she'd lost her job and had trouble finding a new one. It was especially hard since she was raising her daughter Isla alone. I'm hungry, Mom, Isa said, pouting. Brooke's heart sank. They barely had any food left. When she checked the rice container, she found only a few spoonfuls remaining, just enough for one small meal. She cooked their dinner and watched her daughter eat. Though her own stomach grumbled in hunger, she ignored it. Seeing Isa full and content was enough for her. Brooke thought deeply. Embarrassed though she was, she decided she'd swallow her pride for her daughter's sake. She picked up the phone and called her one and only friend, Katie. Hello, Brooke. You don't usually call. What's going on? Katie asked, her voice full of warmth. I'm in big trouble, Brooke said, holding back tears. I need a job, but no one will hire me because I've been sick. My daughter's starving. I don't know what to do anymore. Katie was silent for a moment. Brooke could hear her sigh. This is what you've been going through. Why didn't you call me sooner? Katie said angrily. I was ashamed, Brooke admitted, now crying openly. Brooke, you're my friend. Isa is my goddaughter. Come back to Chicago. We'll talk more here. Even though Katie couldn't see her, Brooke nodded silently, tears running down her face like a child crying to her mother. Mom, is Auntie Katie coming to visit? Isa asked excitedly. Brooke smiled and hugged her daughter. No, sweetheart. We're going to visit her. Without wasting any time, Brooke used the last of her money for their bus tickets back to Chicago. Thankfully, she still had the house her late parents had left her. At least she didn't have to worry about finding a place to stay. Despite the heavy weight of her problems, Brooke felt a flicker of excitement returning to the place where she grew up. Are we going to live here now? Isa asked innocently. Yes, sweetheart. Mommy's going to work here again, Brooke answered softly. Isa's eyes sparkled. She was clearly excited to live somewhere new. When they arrived at the house in Chicago, Brooke smiled faintly as memories rushed back to her. The house was thick with dust, but it still felt like home. Brew, is that really you? Came a shocked voice. Aunt Martha, Brooke exclaimed, holding back tears. Aunt Martha had looked after her as a child while her parents worked, and after they passed, she became Brooke's second mother. The elderly woman embraced her tightly, and Brooke returned the hug with gratitude. This is my daughter, Isa, Brooke said proudly. Aunt Martha gasped softly and pulled the child into a warm hug. I'm so happy you're back. But sweetheart, are you feeling okay? You look so pale, she asked worriedly. I've been sick, but I'll be fine, Brooke said, trying to smile. Together, she and Aunt Martha cleaned the house from top to bottom. With their teamwork, it didn't take long. Wow, it's like nothing's changed, said Katie cheerfully as she walked in. Mimi! Isa shouted with glee and ran into Katie's arms. My baby girl, Katie said, scooping her up. Aunt Martha, she greeted, waving warmly. Katie didn't ask how Brooke was doing. One look at her was enough to see she wasn't well. She smiled anyway, and Brooke returned the smile before giving Katie a hug. Aunt Martha excused herself to cook dinner and took Eel with her to give the two friends time to talk. I'll help you get treatment, Katie said quietly, reaching out to her friend's hand resting on the table. No need. I just really need a job, that's all. I can manage. I'll save up for my treatment myself, Brooke replied. Katie smiled. You're still as stubborn as ever. She sighed and squeezed Brooke's hand. Promise me something. If it gets too hard, you'll tell me. I'm ready to help anytime. Brooke nodded quietly. Not long after, Aunt Martha returned with ISA. The little girl was thrilled, chattering away about the neighborhood kids she'd already met. The four of them sat down and shared a warm meal, their spirits lifted. Are you staying here for good now? Aunt Martha asked. Yes, I'll be working here, Brooke said with a small smile. Hold on, could this desperate act lead to a family reunion no one saw coming? I forgot to mention, Katie added. If you want, you can take over managing my clothing store at the mall. You'll have 2 sales girls to help you. Manager? Brooke asked, surprised. Isn't that a bit sudden? You're still recovering, right? It's better for you to take the manager role. You won't have to exert yourself too much. Besides, that was your job before you left. Technically, you're qualified. Brooke was speechless. Katie was already helping her so much. Katie reached out and held her hand again. Please just take it. I'll feel better knowing my best friend is managing the business I worked hard to build. It's for me and for the store. Brooke finally gave in. All right, just tell me the job details so I can prepare. She couldn't bring herself to refuse when Katie looked at her that way. Brooke started work immediately. Her 2 co-workers were kind, so she had no trouble adjusting. After a few weeks, she and Eller had settled back into city life. Brooke even began setting aside part of her wages for her medical treatment, despite still feeling physically weak. Katie noticed her growing exhaustion and urged her constantly to seek treatment. But Brooke was too embarrassed. She kept telling her friend, thanks for the job. Just a little more savings and I can afford to get well. ISA meanwhile enjoyed playing with the neighborhood children. But one day the little girl seemed unusually quiet. She had noticed something. Her mom's condition was getting worse. While her friends played, Isler watched from a distance as they whispered among themselves. Just stay here, Isler. We're going somewhere real quick. One of them said, smiling. Where are you going? Can I come? She asked curiously. She hated being left behind and longed for companionship. You can't. We're going to make money. It's not for kids, the girl replied sharply. ISA's eyes lit up. They were going to look for money. Maybe she could help her mom. I want to come, too. I want to earn money. ISA insisted. The other kids hesitated, but finally agreed and took her to the street. They taught her how to pickpocket. Think you can do it? One of the kids asked. This is bad, isn't it? Aya asked nervously. It's not bad. We're just asking people for help. They don't even know, one kid said. ISA believed them and nodded. She watched the people closely until she spotted a man in fancy clothes. She bumped into him on purpose and slipped his wallet from his pocket. She was about to run but tripped and fell. The man hadn't even noticed the theft until he reached down to help her up and saw his wallet in her hand. He grabbed her by the arm. You're stealing at your age? Ryan shouted. He furrowed his brow. She looked a lot like him. Terrified, ISA burst into tears. Where are your parents? Ryan asked sternly. Please don't tell my mom. She's sick. If she finds out something bad might happen to her, I won't do it again. I promise. Isa sobbed. You know stealing is wrong, right? Ryan said, stricter now. Yes, I'm sorry, she whimpered. I need to see your mom, Ryan said. She has to know what you did. No, please. My mom's really sick. If she finds out I stole, she might get worse. Isa pleaded. That's not an excuse. Take me to her or I'll take you to the police. Ryan didn't really intend to punish her. She was just a kid. But something about her resemblance to him made him curious. He wanted to see her mother. At home, Brooke had just arrived. She noticed that Isa, who usually ran to greet her, was nowhere in sight. Suddenly, Aunt Martha burst into the house. Brew! Oh my God, Isla, she exclaimed. Brooke's heart pounded. What happened to my daughter? These kids, they taught Isa how to steal. Some man caught her, Aunt Martha said, furious and worried. Where is she? Brooke demanded. The kids pointed toward the street where Isa had been caught. Brooke ran immediately. She spotted her daughter crying while a well-dressed man scolded her. Panic surged inside her as she rushed forward. Sir, please forgive her. She didn't mean it, Brooke begged. When Ryan and Brooke locked eyes, they both froze. Ryan was shocked. He could tell Brooke was sick just by looking at her. Brooke, meanwhile, was stunned. Standing before her was the man she'd been avoiding for years, the man she had once loved and the father of her child. Fear tightened her chest. What if Ryan recognized her? What if he realized Isa was his daughter? Are you the girl's mother? Ryan asked, serious now. Yes, sir. I'm really sorry. I know she wouldn't normally do something like this. Maybe she was just desperate. I'll make sure she's disciplined properly. Brooke said nervously, eager to get away. Ryan nodded slowly. He thought, maybe the child only did this because her mother was sick. He looked at Isla again. There was still hope for her. She was young and could change. I won't press charges. I don't believe in punishing a child for one mistake, he said without emotion. Brooke exhaled in relief. He hadn't recognized her. Once they were home, Isa still couldn't stop crying. Sweetheart, why would you do that? Brooke asked gently. I just wanted to help you get money so you could get better faster. I'm sorry, Mom. Isa cried. Brooke's heart broke. Her illness had driven her innocent child to make a terrible choice. Now that they were living in Chicago again, Brooke knew it was only a matter of time before she crossed paths with Ryan once more. She prayed he wouldn't remember her or discover the truth about Isla. She also realized she had to get treated. If Ryan did remember her and tried to take ill, she needed to be strong enough to fight back. She called Katie. A few hours later, Katie arrived. I've changed my mind, Brooke said, tears streaming down her face. Please help me get treated. I'll pay you back, even in small amounts. Katie was immediately worried. What's wrong? Are you okay? Let's go to the hospital now. No, it's not like that, Brooke replied. I'm afraid he'll use my illness as a reason to take Isla away from me. What happened? Katie asked, her voice tense. I saw him. I saw Isa's father, the guy I had a one-night stand with. The man I've been avoiding for years. Katie gasped. Wait, did he recognize you? She asked, fearful that Brooke would run away again. No. But what if he suddenly remembers? He saw me and Isa together. What if he tries to take her? Katie took a deep breath. We're going to the doctor first thing tomorrow. You need to get better. Brooke nodded. Once she'd calmed down, Katie finally said what she had been holding back. I won't interfere with whatever decision you make. But don't you think Ryan deserves to know he has a daughter? And shouldn't Isa get the chance to know her father? I know, but I'm scared. What if he takes her away from me? What if he doesn't accept her? Brooke whispered, trembling. But what if he does? What if it's for the best? For you and Isa? Katie asked gently. Brooke went silent. Her friend had a point. That night years ago, Ryan had told her he wasn't ready to have children. She remembered how terrified she had been when she found out she was pregnant. When he almost found her at work, she had run away, leaving everything behind so he would never find her or the baby. Once Katie left, Brooke lay next to her daughter, who was still awake and crying. It's okay now, sweetheart, she whispered. Just promise me you won't ever do that again. Okay. I'm really sorry, Mom. I only made things worse, Isla said, sniffling. Brooke smiled and ran her fingers through her daughter's hair until she stopped crying. Mom, I have a dad, right? I overheard you and Aunt Katie talking about him. Doesn't he want me? Why doesn't he want to meet me? Isa asked, her voice full of sadness. Brooke shook her head. No, sweetie. It's not that. Your dad just doesn't know about you. But once he finds out, I'm sure he'll love you just as much as I do. Then why don't we just tell him? Isa asked innocently. I'm sorry, honey. When we see him again, I promise I'll tell him, Brooke replied, lying to protect her daughter from the truth. She wasn't ready. She didn't know what Ryan would do if he found out. Still, Brooke felt a growing guilt. Was it fair to keep Isa from knowing her father? She decided she wouldn't say anything unless Ryan remembered. But if he ever did, she wouldn't deny him the child. She would stay silent until she found the courage to face it all. Meanwhile, Ryan lay restless in his room. He couldn't stop thinking about the child he met earlier. Anyone who saw her would notice the resemblance. She looked around 7 or 8 years old. Ryan tried to remember if he'd met someone around that time. There was one woman. He couldn't recall her face, but he remembered the night clearly. It was a one-night stand, and she had left before morning. That night had changed him. He stopped going to clubs. He stopped chasing women. He had tried to find her, but the bar where they met had changed staff. No one remembered her. Ryan shook his head. Even now the child's face haunted him. He watched Isa from afar, playing happily with the other kids. There was something about her. He felt drawn to her. Unable to resist, Ryan went back to work, but her image wouldn't leave his mind. Brooke and Katie went to the hospital. Brooke underwent tests and was prescribed medication. She had to return monthly for chemotherapy. I can't believe it's cancer. Katie sobbed. Don't cry, Brooke said. The doctor said I can get better. As long as I follow the treatment, I'll be fine. Please, Brooke, take care of yourself. Think about Isa. She needs you. Katie pleaded through tears. Brooke hugged her friend tightly. Once Katie had calmed down, Brooke went straight to work. Her co-workers were relieved to see her back. Brooke thought to herself she had to stop being selfish. It wasn't just Isa who cared about her. After work, she walked home early to cook dinner on time. As she turned the corner, she spotted Ryan watching Isa from a distance. She noticed the confusion and longing in his eyes. What are you doing here? She asked nervously. Nothing. I just passed by. I saw your daughter playing and I couldn't help but watch. She's full of life, Ryan said, pretending it was no big deal. Brooke tried to stay calm. People might get the wrong idea. There are still a lot of gossips in this neighborhood, she said jokingly. Ryan panicked. No, it's not what you're thinking. I swear. Brooke laughed softly. She had only been with Ryan once, and they had both been drunk. All she knew about him was from rumors and what people said. Now seeing him nervous, she felt a strange kind of hope. Maybe if he found out, he wouldn't take Isla from her. Ryan, meanwhile, felt relieved hearing her laugh. Would you like to meet Isa? Brooke asked gently. No, that's okay. I just really like watching her play, Ryan replied, embarrassed. But truthfully, he wanted nothing more than to spend time with the girl. Brooke didn't push him. "Aina, sweetheart," she called. Isa's eyes lit up when she saw her mom. She ran over, smiling brightly. "You're home early," she said happily. "Work ended early." "Oh, and do you remember the man you tried something with before?" Brooke asked gently. Isa glanced at Ryan. Their eyes met again, and Ryan's heart raced. There was something about her. "I'm really sorry again," Isa said softly. Ryan felt a sting in his chest. Seeing her sad made him feel worse. He patted her head and smiled. "It's okay. Just don't do it again." "All right." Isa beamed. "What's your name, sir?" she asked sweetly. "Ryan, what's yours?" he replied. Isa. "Isn't that a pretty name?" she asked playfully. Both Ryan and Brooke chuckled after they introduced themselves. Ryan said his goodbyes. But the happiness he felt from meeting Isla lingered long after he left. He started visiting more often. Whenever he had time from work, he'd watch her play, sometimes even joining in. Brooke knew about all of it. She saw the bond forming between Ryan and Isa. Sometimes Isla even asked for him when he wasn't around. Katie smiled knowingly. "That kind of connection, you can't fake that." "I just hope if Ryan ever finds out, he won't take Isla from me," Brooke said sadly. "You said it yourself." "He doesn't seem like the kind who would," Katie reassured her. Brooke could only nod. Ryan continued to visit Isla whenever he could. One day when Brooke came home from work, she found Ryan playing with Isa and some neighborhood kids. She smiled at the sight. This well-dressed man playing on the street with sun-drenched children. "Mom!" Isa ran to her excitedly. Ryan smiled at Brooke. Without hesitation, she invited him inside. "How long have you been here?" she asked, breaking the silence. "Not long. I had a little free time, so I dropped by," Ryan said, a bit shy. He feared Brooke might misunderstand his frequent visits. "Really? Well, you might not see Eller tomorrow. Her godmother's taking her out," Brooke said calmly. Ryan's face fell. Seeing his disappointment, Brooke hesitated, then took a breath. If it's okay with you, maybe after we get back tomorrow, you could stay for dinner," she said shyly. Ryan's face lit up with joy, and he nodded eagerly. Brooke felt guilt twist in her chest. She decided right then she would tell Ryan the truth about Isla. "There's something I need to tell you about the child," she said quietly. Ryan's nerves spiked. He didn't want to be kept from Isla. He didn't know why, but he felt deeply connected to her. "Did something happen?" he asked, anxious. "No, I need to tell you something." "Please don't be mad," Brooke said, forcing a smile. Ryan frowned. He couldn't understand what she meant or why she thought he would be angry, but the thought lingered with him all night. The next day, Ryan quickly wrapped up work and headed to Brooke's house at the agreed time. Isa greeted him happily at the door. "Mom, Mr. Ryan is here," she called. Brooke took a deep breath before stepping out of her room. "Oh, you're here. Perfect timing. I just finished cooking," she said with a smile, walking toward the kitchen. Suddenly, she stumbled. "Are you okay?" Ryan asked, rushing to her side. "Yeah, I just tripped over the chair," she said, brushing it off with a smile. As she served the food, the aroma filled the room. "I don't know if you'll like it, but I promise it tastes good," she said cheerfully. "I got hungry the moment I smelled it," Ryan replied with a laugh. Brooke was surprised. She had assumed Ryan was too used to fine dining to enjoy her humble cooking, but seeing him so enthusiastic made her happy. After dinner, Ryan wiped his mouth and turned to her. "So, what was it you wanted to tell me about the child?" he asked. Brooke's heart pounded. I have a confession," she began. Just as she was about to speak, Ryan noticed her nose was bleeding. He stood up quickly and caught her just in time as she collapsed. "Mom," Isa cried, running toward them. "Get your mom's bag or phone." "We need to go to the hospital," Ryan said, panicking. Isa grabbed what she could and followed him. "Do you know how to lock the door?" he asked. "Lock it first, then catch up with me." He sped through the streets, racing toward the hospital. In the emergency room, Ryan tried to calm Isa down. "Your mom will be okay," he said gently. "There are a lot of doctors inside. They'll take care of her. I know she's sick, but she said she was getting better." "She takes her medicine, but it doesn't seem to be working," Isa said sadly. Ryan smiled reassuringly, trying to soothe her, but he couldn't calm himself. Brooke had been kind to him, and for reasons he didn't understand, he didn't think he could handle it if something bad happened to her. While they waited for the test results, Brooke's phone rang. Isa answered it. "Hello, Aunt Katie," she said, her voice low. "Is your mom there? Why do you sound so sad?" Katie asked, concerned. Ryan motioned for Eller to hand him the phone. She passed it to him. "This is Ryan. Brooke had a nosebleed and fainted earlier while we were at her house. I brought her to the hospital," he explained. Katie gasped on the other end. "Which hospital?" Ryan gave her the details, and before long she arrived, eyes red and puffy from crying. She hugged Isla tightly, unable to stop her tears. Seeing Katie's reaction only made Ryan more nervous. He started fearing that Brooke's condition was serious. He thought bitterly. Why now? Why was this happening just when he was starting to feel truly connected to Brooke and Isa? Finally, the doctor emerged. "The patient is in stable condition," he said calmly. Katie, Ryan, and especially Isa sighed in relief. When Katie told Isa her mom would be okay, the child lit up with joy. Once Brooke was moved to a private room, Ryan volunteered to take Isla out to get some food. Katie agreed. She knew Ryan wouldn't do anything to harm the child. A few minutes later, Brooke woke up. "Where's Isa?" she asked weakly. "She's with Ryan. He took her to get food," Katie replied. "What happened?" Brooke asked, confused. "He said you fainted and had a nosebleed while he was at your house." "Good thing I called or I wouldn't have known what happened," Katie said, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," Brooke murmured. "Did you tell him?" Katie asked, her voice trembling. Brooke shook her head. "I was just about to. And then that happened." Katie smiled sadly. "There's still time. For now, focus on getting better." Meanwhile, Ryan stood outside the hospital room holding Isa's hand. He had heard the entire conversation. He looked at Isa, who stared back up at him, curious. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "No. Let's go back inside," he said with a faint smile. As they entered the room, Isa's face lit up. "Mom," she shouted, tearing up. "Were you scared?" Brooke asked, gently brushing her daughter's cheek. "I'm okay now, Mom. Please don't scare me again," Isa said, still crying. Brooke smiled and nodded, then looked at Ryan. "Thank you." "I'm sorry to trouble you," she said gratefully. Ryan didn't reply right away. He was staring at Isa. Now he understood why he had felt such a deep connection with her. "Ryan?" Brooke asked, confused. "Oh, yeah, it's nothing." "What matters is you're okay now," he said, stumbling over his words. Brooke smiled at him, wondering if she should say it. Should she tell him what she had meant to the night before, but she decided to wait until she was discharged. Katie took Isa home while Ryan offered to stay behind and watch over Brooke at the hospital. Brooke initially refused, but Ryan insisted, and in the end, she agreed. As Brooke slept peacefully, Ryan sat by her side, quietly watching her. Slowly, bits and pieces of memory started to return. He remembered more from the night of their one-night stand. How they met, how they talked, how it all happened. Not everything was clear, but the details were starting to sharpen. He couldn't believe it. Before Katie and Isa left the hospital earlier, Ryan had discreetly taken a strand of Isa's hair. He sent it for a DNA test. Sometimes Katie visited with ISA when they missed seeing Brooke. Brooke was immensely grateful, even without remembering everything. Yet, Ryan had become someone they could rely on. Brooke couldn't help but admire Ryan's handsome features every time he looked after her. "Is something wrong?" Ryan asked with a smile, catching her staring. Brooke turned pale, quickly looking away. She was embarrassed. Ryan chuckled at her reaction. "Are you making fun of me?" Brooke asked, pouting. "No, I'm just happy." "You can stare all you want," Ryan teased with a grin. Brooke's eyes widened. She looked away again, flustered. Ryan found her reaction even more adorable. The longer they spent time together, the closer they became. They laughed and joked more freely. Ryan asked often about Isler and their life together. One day, one of Ryan's staff handed him the DNA test results. "It's a match, sir," the assistant said seriously. When Ryan opened the envelope and saw the confirmation, he burst into tears. He wept from joy. He had a child. ISA was his daughter and she was his child, with the woman who had haunted his thoughts for years. Later, when Brooke returned to her hospital room and saw Ryan's red, puffy eyes, she asked gently, "Did something happen?" Ryan smiled and shook his head. He rested his head on the side of Brooke's hospital bed. Brooke figured maybe something was bothering him that he wasn't ready to share. So instead, she gently stroked his hair, trying to comfort him in her own quiet way. Once Ryan calmed down, he lifted his head and looked at her. "Your color is starting to come back," he said. "Yeah, I'm starting to feel better," Brooke replied with a smile. "Did you ask when I can be discharged?" "You'll be out in a day, but if it were up to me, I wouldn't let you leave until you're fully recovered," Ryan said, frowning. "Oh, come on. I'll go crazy if I stay here any longer." Brooke laughed. Truth be told, she felt a little flutter in her heart. Ryan's concern made her feel special. The next day, Ryan insisted on paying the hospital bills. He and Katie even argued about it. "I already said I'll take care of it," Katie said, annoyed. "If you had just let me pay, Brooke would be home already and resting," Ryan snapped back. After a moment, Katie gave in. Ever since Ryan found out he was ISA's father, he promised himself he would never abandon them again. "I'll leave you two now. I have to get back to work," he said as he dropped them off at home. "I've troubled you enough. Go on, get back," Brooke said gently. "Mr. Ryan, when are you coming back?" ISA asked, pouting. "I'll be back soon, I promise," Ryan replied with a smile. "Thank you for everything," Brooke said softly. Ryan stepped closer and kissed her forehead. Then he kissed Eels as well before leaving. ISA smiled brightly at the gesture while Brooke stood frozen, touching her forehead in shock. "What was that about?" Katie asked with a teasing grin. "Nothing, just spur of the moment," Brooke stammered. "Are you two getting close in the hospital?" Katie teased. Brooke blushed and looked down, saying nothing. Katie playfully nudged her. "Come on, admit it. Are you falling for him?" "No, stop imagining things," Brooke said, flustered. "We just talked a lot while I was there, that's all." Katie shrugged with a knowing smirk. Brooke rolled her eyes at her. A few hours later, Katie went home. Not long after, Ryan returned. ISA welcomed him joyfully. "I thought you weren't coming," she said cheerfully. "I said I'd be quick," Ryan replied with a laugh. "Have you eaten?" Brooke asked with a smile. "Yes, did you?" Ryan replied. Brooke nodded, but she blushed, suddenly remembering Katie's teasing words. Ryan chatted with them a bit and played with ISA before saying he had to leave. "You're going already, but it's late," ISA said, disappointed. "I'll be back tomorrow." "Don't worry," Ryan promised. "Are you sure? Can you still drive home safely?" Brooke asked with concern. "I'm good. Don't worry. I'll see you tomorrow," Ryan said happily. As he drove away, he couldn't stop smiling. It warmed his heart to know that Brooke and Isa cared for him. Brooke, on the other hand, was once again left flustered. This time, Ryan had kissed her cheek before leaving. She touched her cheek and was instantly reminded of the night they spent together years ago. They had both been drunk, but to Brooke, that night meant something. She shook her head and whispered to herself, "Snap out of it, Brooke. Don't be foolish." Still, she couldn't sleep. Memories of that night kept her awake. The next day, Brooke confessed her thoughts to Katie. "I think I'm fantasizing about him," she said, confused. Katie laughed loudly. "I don't blame you. You've been without someone for years," she said. "Gh. Maybe I shouldn't have told you anything," Brooke muttered. Katie laughed and playfully hit her on the shoulder. "You're falling for him. You just won't admit it," Katie said seriously. Just then, Ryan arrived with food. Brooke smiled shyly as she watched him happily playing with Eller and bantering with Katie. Her heart raced every time Ryan smiled at her. "I'm falling for him," she thought silently. "Why do you look so serious?" Ryan asked with a grin. "Come on, let's eat." Brooke smiled at him. They were clearly getting more and more comfortable with each other. She sat down beside him, feeling more relaxed than ever. Ryan stared at her for a few seconds after she smiled. Brooke noticed and blushed. She looked away quickly, suddenly feeling weak. Katie quietly watched them from across the room, amused by the innocent connection forming between the two. She couldn't help but smile every time sparks flew. "Your friend is losing her mind," Ryan whispered playfully, referring to Katie, who was now smiling to herself. "Let her be. There are moments and days like that," Brooke joked back. Katie scowled playfully at the two and rolled her eyes. Brooke and Ryan burst into laughter. This became their new routine. Whenever Ryan found time off work, he would drop by to see Brooke and Isla. Katie also visited daily, even though she was often busy. After several weeks, Brooke's strength began returning. She wasn't sure if it was due to the happiness she was experiencing, but it felt real. Katie even gave Brooke a week off before allowing her to return to work, her condition for approving Brooke's comeback. Brooke appreciated the gesture. "Is it okay if we go on a short trip?" Ryan asked one day. "Of course, after getting clearance from the doctor, I'd really like to take you and Isa somewhere." "Where would we even go?" Brooke asked. "A resort, a beach, wherever." "I just want to take you both somewhere nice," Ryan said nervously, cheeks flushing. Brooke was touched by his sincerity and agreed. Ryan grinned ear to ear when she said yes. The next day, they consulted with the doctor, who confirmed that Brooke was healthy enough for a short vacation. Without delay, the three of them packed and headed to the resort. What Brooke didn't know was that the place they were visiting was owned by a friend of Ryan's. When they arrived, Ryan introduced her to a woman named Monica. "She's beautiful." "Is she your girlfriend?" Brooke asked, trying to sound casual, but with a forced smile. "No, I have someone else in mind," Ryan replied sweetly, looking directly at Brooke. "She must be special," Brooke whispered under her breath, a pang in her chest. Ryan gave Brooke and Isa a tour around the resort. Isa was ecstatic. "This place is amazing, Mr. Ryan. Can you go down the slide with me later?" Isa beamed. "Of course, but first, let's settle in and get something to eat," Ryan said warmly. Isa nodded happily. "I hope Katie can join us." "I think she'd really enjoy this," Brooke said. "I hope she doesn't," Ryan whispered, hoping Brooke wouldn't hear. He wanted alone time with her. "What did you say?" Brooke asked, eyebrows raised. "Oh, I said. I hope she does join us," Ryan said quickly, faking a laugh. They unpacked and headed to the resort's restaurant. "Mom, can I have spaghetti?" Isa asked sweetly. "Of course, I'll get you some," Brooke said with a smile. "I'm good. Do you want anything extra for yourself?" Ryan asked her kindly. "No, I'm fine, thanks," Brooke said, smiling as she watched him take care of Isa with so much joy and affection. Guilt gnawed at her. She still hadn't told him the truth. "Everything okay here?" Monica asked as she approached their table, grinning widely. Ryan stood to greet her, giving her a friendly kiss on the cheek. Brooke didn't react visibly, but it stung. She saw how Monica glanced at her with a smug expression before walking away. "You two seem close," Brooke said awkwardly. "Sort of. We've worked together in different business ventures," Ryan replied with a shrug. Brooke didn't say anything, but something in her heart told her there was more between them. Still, she kept quiet. Isa enjoyed every bit of the resort, especially the pool. Brooke, feeling tired, got out and sat by the side to watch Ryan and Isler splash around. Later that evening, after dinner, Ryan approached her. "You look deep in thought," he said softly. "Do you remember what I wanted to tell you that day I fainted?" Brooke asked, nervous. "Of course. What was it?" Ryan asked with a gentle smile. He already had a feeling it was about Isa. Brooke inhaled deeply. She had decided to finally tell the truth. "Katie and I went out one night to celebrate. I'd been working so much, I just wanted to let loose. I got really drunk." Brooke began. "That's when I met a guy. He was passed out in the hallway near the bathroom. I tried to wake him up and we ended up talking. He took me home and something happened between us." Ryan sat silently listening. "When I woke up the next morning, I rushed out. I was late for work. A few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant," Brooke said, avoiding his gaze. "I wanted to tell the guy, but I remembered him saying that he didn't want kids yet, so I kept it to myself. I later found out where he worked, but I was terrified. I left town. I disappeared." Brooke finally looked up. "Ryan, that man was you. You're Isa's father." Ryan closed his eyes tightly. Brooke braced herself, expecting anger. But when he said nothing, she slowly turned her gaze to him and found him smiling sadly. "You knew?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "I heard you and Katie talking at the hospital," Ryan said softly. "I didn't mean to deceive you either. I was just afraid. I thought if you knew I remembered, you might try to keep Isler from me." Brooke nodded tearfully. "You once said you didn't want kids. I didn't think you'd accept her." "I did say that," Ryan admitted. "But I didn't mean for it to scare you away. I'm sorry." "I should have told you," Brooke said, lowering her head. Ryan reached out and gently tousled her hair. "It's okay. Fate brought us back together anyway," he said warmly. Brooke's eyes widened. Her face turned red. They spent the rest of the night talking about everything, about Isa's childhood, about what could have been. Later, Isa, tired from playing, asked to go to bed. So, they returned to their rooms. The next morning, Brooke and Isa woke up early and went down to eat. They didn't want to disturb Ryan, who was still asleep. Brooke's heart dropped when she entered the dining area and saw Monica laughing with Ryan. Monica's hand was lightly brushing his shoulder. Brooke quietly took a seat far from them. Isa shouted his name excitedly, causing Ryan to turn and look at them. He immediately stood and walked over, leaving Monica behind. "You're awake already?" "I was waiting for you guys," Ryan said, smiling. "You didn't eat yet?" Isa asked. "I wanted to eat with you and your mom," Ryan replied. "Well, Monica's here. You could have eaten with her," Brooke said curtly. Ryan was startled by her tone, but smiled anyway. "I didn't want to eat with anyone but you two," he said gently. Brooke blushed. "Let's eat," she said, flustered. Afterward, Ryan pulled Brooke aside. He wanted to tell Isa the truth. "If you're ready, I won't stop you," Brooke said with a smile. "I want her to know I'm not just Mr. Ryan. I want her to know I'm her father," he said, his eyes full of love. That afternoon, Ryan invited Isa to walk by the shore while Brooke stayed at the resort. "Did you ever look for your dad?" Ryan asked cautiously as he and Isler walked along the beach. "Sometimes," Isler replied. "But Mom said my dad doesn't know about me yet." She promised that when they meet, she'll tell him right away. I'm waiting. What if he shows up one day? Ryan asked gently. Then I'd be really happy. Super happy. Isa said, eyes sparkling with excitement. Ryan couldn't hold it in anymore. He pulled her into a hug. Then you must be really happy now because I'm here, he said softly. Isa looked confused at first, but realization dawned on her. You're my dad, she asked, eyes wide. I'm sorry it took me so long, sweetheart. Your mom kept her promise. She told me, Ryan said, his voice emotional. Isa's eyes lit up. I have a dad now. Yay! I have a dad, she shouted joyfully, jumping up and down. Ryan smiled and watched her with pride. They played for a while longer before heading back to find Brooke. There you are, Brooke said when she spotted them. We've been looking for you. Mom, I have a daddy now, Isla exclaimed as she ran to her. Brooke forced a smile. Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you changed. You're soaked from playing on the beach. Yeah, go change before you catch a cold, Ryan added, laughing. Okay, we'll head upstairs, Brooke said quickly. I'll wait for you two by the pool, Ryan called out cheerfully. Why don't you go to Monica instead? She was looking for you, Brooke muttered bitterly as she led Isa away. Ryan frowned, confused by her sudden mood shift. He shrugged and turned away. Did you ask to see me? He asked Monica as he approached. Is it true you have a child? Monica asked, her expression cold. I told you before. I'm here with my daughter and her mother, Ryan replied, keeping his voice even. How could you not tell me? She said, tears brimming. What do you mean, Monica? Don't tell me you're still hoping for something between us, Ryan said firmly. You didn't even try to love me, she said quietly. Ryan's mind wandered. He remembered Brooke acting distant earlier, right after he and Monica spoke at breakfast. What did you say to Brooke? He demanded. You need to look young for your next boyfriend, Ryan shot back with a grin. You two need to stop flirting already, Katie sighed. But I really am tired. I'll stay with Isa while she sleeps. You two go have fun. So Brooke and Ryan headed out to the lively stalls and booths set up for the resort event. Vendors called out cheerfully, and one of them waved a pair of couple bracelets. These would look great on you and your boyfriend, the vendor said to Brooke. Think my boyfriend will like it? Brooke asked with a playful smile. Ryan's face lit up with joy. His grin was wide and impossible to hide. Brooke bought the bracelets, slipped one on Ryan's wrist, then held up their joined hands. They match, she said happily. They really do, Ryan said, looking at her with soft eyes. Brooke blushed and quickly looked away. They spent the evening enjoying the event, then decided to take a walk along the shoreline before heading back to their rooms. At the water's edge, Brooke let go of Ryan's hand and ran toward the sea. Laughing, she splashed him with water. Ryan grinned mischievously and splashed her back. Soon, the two were completely soaked, playing like carefree kids. Eventually, Brooke, exhausted, plopped down on the sand. Ryan sat beside her and pulled her closer. Thank you, Brooke said quietly. For what? Ryan asked surprised. For everything. A while back, I was so afraid you'd find us and take Isa away, but now we're so happy. Ryan smiled, his heart pounding. He gently lifted her chin and kissed her again. This time, she kissed him back without hesitation. Their kiss deepened, their bodies warm and trembling from the emotion. They held each other close until they both needed to catch their breath. Let's head back and shower. Ryan whispered against her ear, blushing. Brooke nodded. Back in Ryan's suite, he carried Brooke into the bathroom. The heat between them was undeniable. Their clothes came off quickly, and in the shower, he treated her with the gentlest care. Afterward, he carried her to the bed, and they made love again and again through the night. The next morning, Katie watched Ryan doting on Brooke and couldn't help grinning. As Ryan stepped out to get breakfast, Katie leaned toward Brooke and asked, So, how was last night? Blushing furiously, Brooke stammered. It was happy. Happy or amazing? Katie teased. Before she could finish her sentence, Brooke threw a tissue at her. Stop it, Brooke said, flustered. Katie burst into laughter. Back in Chicago, things returned to normal. Brooke and Isa resumed their daily routines, except this time, Ryan was now part of their life. He visited them often, and on Brooke's days off, he took them out for little adventures. Brooke's body grew stronger day by day, and though she was adjusting slowly, she was thankful for all the support around her. Mom, why doesn't Daddy live with us? Isa asked one day. Why do you ask that, honey? Brooke replied. My friends live with both their mom and dad, but Daddy only visits. Doesn't he want to stay with us? Isa pouted. Would you like Daddy to live with us? Brooke asked gently. Isa nodded sadly. Don't worry. He loves you very much. He's just really busy. Brooke explained. But if he lived with us, I could be with him every day, Isa said hopefully. Brooke smiled and nodded. She had been hesitant to move in with Ryan, not wanting to rush things after just coming from the province, but seeing Isa's longing changed her mind. The next day, they started packing. Are we moving? Isa asked. You said you wanted to be with Daddy all the time, right? Brooke said smiling. Really? Daddy's not busy anymore? Isa asked excitedly. Nope. He's picking us up later to take us to our new home, Brooke said. Brooke packed all their things, ready to move in with Ryan. We're moving? Ryan asked in shock when he arrived and saw the packed boxes. You said you wanted us to live together, didn't you? Brooke replied with a smile.